My name is Samantha Owen, 34 years old. The moment I walked into the ER waiting room, my brother Nathan looked me dead in the eyes and said loudly in front of 9 relatives, "We didn't call you because Mom doesn't need you. You're not the daughter she asks for anymore. You never were." The room went silent. Some aunts looked away. Others nodded like it was the truth. 18 hours earlier, my mother had been rushed to the hospital with a suspected stroke, and not a single one of them picked up the phone to tell me. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just sat down. Then a nurse named Hadley pulled me into the hallway, closed the door, and whispered something that made my blood freeze. They thought they could erase me from my mother's life forever. They were wrong. What I discovered that night didn't just expose their lies, it burned their entire plan to the ground. Before we continue, please hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps the channel. Drop a comment below. Where are you watching from and what time is it right now? I read every single one. The drive from my apartment in South End to Atrium Health Carolina's medical center is supposed to take 28 minutes. I made it in 19. It was a quiet Monday afternoon in April. The dogwoods on Queens Road were blooming white. I noticed because noticing was the only thing keeping me upright. I work fraud. That is the easiest way to say it. I am a forensic accountant at Carolina First Mutual. I spend my days looking for what people hide inside numbers. I know what a forged signature looks like. I know what a backdated form smells like, even when it is digital. I just had never expected to find one in my own mother's hospital chart. The call had come at 3:31 p.m., not from Nathan, not from any of the 9, from Sandra Pell, the woman who has worked at my mother's flower shop on Selwyn Avenue for 11 years. Sandra had been waiting for a Monday flower order, called the house, and a neighbor told her about the ambulance the night before. Sandra had my number from a business card my mother kept by the kitchen phone. She cried into the receiver. Her voice broke twice before she said the words, "suspected stroke." By the time she said them, my mother had been in the ER for 18 hours. I did not call Nathan. I called my supervisor at the firm and asked for 3 days. I called Adrienne Lockhart, my friend from UNC, who now practices elder law in Charlotte, and left her a voicemail. I drove. On the dashboard, my phone was mounted in its usual cradle. I tapped the voice memo app and let it record. It is 3:47 p.m., Monday, April 6th, 2026, I said out loud, watching the road. My mother has been in the ER since approximately 9:18 last night. Nobody called me. Nathan has had 18 hours to call. I am 12 minutes out. Whatever I see, I am not reacting in that room. I did not know yet that the recording would matter. The parking deck at Atrium smells like every parking deck in America. Gasoline, concrete dust, and someone's old perfume. I sat in my Civic for a full 90 seconds before I opened the door. I looked at my hands. They were steady. That was useful information. The waiting room was on the 2nd floor, near the ER admissions desk. It was painted that hospital beige that is supposed to be calming and is never calming. There were rows of orange plastic chairs, a soda machine humming in the corner, and a small flat screen on the wall playing a courtroom show with the sound off. Through the door, before I even fully stepped in, I could smell burnt coffee. I counted the room. I did it the way I count rows on a spreadsheet, left to right, top to bottom. 3 on my father's side. Uncle Howard Owen, his wife Aunt Cordelia, and their son, my cousin Trevor. 2 on my mother's side. Aunt Vivian Pierce and Aunt Lorraine Pierce, my mother's older and younger sisters. 4 more who used to send my mother lilies on her birthday. Aunt Patricia Hollister, Uncle Reginald Hollister, my cousin Madeline Hollister Bryce, and Brittany. My sister-in-law, Brittany Owen, wearing the cashmere sweater the color of wet sand that she always wears when she wants to look educated. 9. Uncle Howard was holding a copy of the Charlotte Observer. He was holding it upside down. He had been holding it that way long enough that he had stopped noticing. Then Nathan stood up. He was wearing a navy quarter-zip pullover and gray dress pants, and he was holding a pale yellow paper coffee cup with both hands like a stage prop. He took a step toward me. He did not lower his voice. He raised it just enough so that everyone in the room would hear without being able to claim later that he had been shouting. "We didn't call you because Mom doesn't need you," he said. "You're not the daughter she asks for anymore. You never were." There was a pause that had been rehearsed. I could feel the rehearsal in it. Aunt Vivian looked at the floor. Aunt Lorraine looked at Nathan and gave a small, sympathetic nod, the kind people give when they have been told for months that something tragic is true. Uncle Howard nodded once, slowly, the way men nod when they are agreeing with money. Aunt Patricia nodded with her whole upper body, the way churchwomen nod. Trevor looked at his phone. Cordelia looked at the soda machine. Madeline crossed her arms and looked at the floor near her shoes. Brittany did not move at all. He had not said it to me. He had said it to them. 3 sentences he had practiced. I counted who nodded. I would remember every face. I walked past him to the orange chair nearest the vending machine and sat down. "Where is she?" I said. It was not a question. It was the only thing I would say to him for the next hour. Nathan blinked. "She's in observation. Room ER23. Neuro step down." "Thank you." I leaned back against the plastic chair and closed my eyes for one breath. Just one. Then I opened them again and watched the room. At the front desk, a nurse with red curly hair and a name tag I could not yet read wrote something on a clipboard, glanced up at me, glanced at Nathan, and walked toward the hallway. 22 minutes later, she walked past me twice. The second time, she touched my elbow very lightly and said, "Ms. Owen, can I borrow you a minute? To tell you why my brother said what he said, I have to take you back about 18 months. That is when the first phone call stopped coming. But to tell you that, I have to take you further. I have to take you back to a kitchen in 2022, 2 weeks before my father died. My father, Walter Owen, was an engineer at Duke Energy for 35 years. He was a quiet man who used pencils instead of pens because, he said, the world has enough permanent decisions in it already. He was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer the August before he died. By February of 2022, he was on a permanent leave he was not going to come back from. That February, on a Tuesday morning, he asked me to come over before work. My mother was at the flower shop. The kitchen was empty. The kitchen island held 2 mugs of coffee, neither of them his. He could not keep coffee down anymore. He was sitting in the chair near the window in his bathrobe and one of my old college sweatshirts. He had lost 28 pounds. His hands were freckled and thin. He slid a craft-colored envelope across the island toward me. There was a strip of blue painter's tape sealing it. He had written Sam on the front in pencil. "Don't open this now," he said. "Don't open it on a regular day. Open it when you see your brother acting strange about paper. Dad. Don't ask me what I mean. You'll know. And Sammy, watch your brother. Not his eyes. His books." I took the envelope home that night and put it in a fireproof box in my closet. Within a year, I had moved it to my safe deposit box at the credit union. The way you move something when you are not sure why you are protecting it, but you know that you are. I did not open it. Not once. Not for 4 years. My father died on March 8th, 2022. 14 people came to the funeral, just the immediate circle and the closest friends. 6 of the 9 people who would later sit in that ER waiting room did not come. They came back, though. They came back when there was a trust. Because my father did not leave a will exactly. He left a structure. He had built it carefully over years with a lawyer named Halsey Bramwell, and the way it worked was this. My mother received a care trust of $1.2 million. irrevocable, designed to fund her medical and living expenses for the rest of her life. Nathan was named trustee. I was named contingent beneficiary and healthcare proxy. My mother held final authority over any distribution that crossed a certain dollar threshold, which required her countersignature. It was not a will. It was a marriage. My father had married Nathan and me to each other through paper. Nathan would manage money. I would manage care. We would have to talk to each other. Your father thought it was balance, my mother said once in 2023 when I asked her why Dad had divided it the way he did. He thought it would force you and your brother to coordinate. He was very confident about that. She said it gently. She did not say what she meant, which was that my father had been wrong. For a year after his death, things were quiet. My mother kept working at the flower shop on Selwyn Avenue 3 days a week. She drove herself. She managed her own appointments. She and I had dinner every Wednesday at a little Italian place in Dilworth that has since closed. Nathan and Brittany came over once a month. We were not warm, but we were polite. Then in September of 2024, my mother had a small TIA, a transient ischemic attack, a kind of warning stroke. She recovered fully within 48 hours. The neurology team at Atrium told her to take a low-dose blood thinner and to monitor for changes. She made a joke about it. She said, "Eleanor Owen does not have time for a stroke. Eleanor Owen has tulips coming in next week." But after that, TIA, something else started. Brittany started showing up. It was small at first. Brittany at the neurology follow-up. "I'm here so Sam doesn't have to take off work." Brittany at the pharmacy. "I'll grab Mom's prescriptions on the way home." Brittany texting me. "Don't worry about coming this weekend. Mom is tired. I've got it." Each text reasonable. Each text helpful. On the surface. Each text another inch. By March of 2025, Brittany had convinced my mother to switch from her own AT&T plan to Verizon to save $40 a month on Nathan's family plan. Same phone number, same handset, different account. My mother thought it was a kindness. She said so on a Sunday phone call I still have on my computer. "Honey, Brittany says the new plan saves money," she said. "Don't worry about it. Same number. Love you." 2 months after that, in May, Brittany came over to help Mom with her apps. That was the day my number went into the blocked list on my mother's iPhone. That was also the day Nathan, as primary account holder, set up a call forwarding rule on the Verizon Family Plan dashboard. Any call from my number to my mother's number was routed to a voicemail box that had never been provisioned. 2 layers, one for the phone, one for the network. In case my mother ever found the blocked list and removed me herself. She never did. She did not know to look. For 11 months after that, I called and called. I left voicemails she never heard. 3 on Mother's Day, 2025. 3 at Christmas, 2025. 6 on her birthday in March of 2026. She received exactly none of them. And during those same 11 months, my mother believed that I had stopped calling. I should have noticed sooner. I think the reason I did not is because I trusted her silence to mean she was busy. The flower shop, the garden, the church book club. My mother had always been a woman who returned calls when she wanted to. If she did not return, I told myself, it was because she was occupied or tired or processing something private. I did not know that my voice was simply not reaching her. I learned much later that during those same months, Brittany was telling my mother that I had been too busy with work to come around. That I had said I needed a little distance. That I had said after Christmas. Maybe in the spring. I had said none of those things. I had not been given the chance to say anything at all. I want to tell you about 3 calls I did not get to make. Christmas of 2024 was the first time I noticed. My mother had always hosted Christmas at her house in Myers Park. The lemon tree by her bay window would be wrapped in white lights. There would be a small pile of presents that she had picked herself, never re-gifted. That December, 2 weeks before Christmas, she called me from Brittany's phone. Brittany had lent her one because hers was acting up, and said in a thin voice that she would be celebrating at Nathan and Brittany's house that year. Smaller this time, more restful. "I think I just need quiet, honey," she said. "You understand." I said I understood. I dropped a gift off at her house the morning of December 23rd, a cashmere wrap in the color she liked. I never heard if it had been received. No thank you. No call. I told myself she was tired. A year later, Christmas of 2025, I tried 3 times on Christmas Day. No answer. I called the landline at the Myers Park house. Brittany picked up on the second ring. "Oh, Sam, hi. She's already asleep. Long day. I'll tell her you called." I learned in April of 2026 that the landline at my mother's house had been unplugged from the wall socket in November of 2025. Brittany had done it, to stop the spam calls. My mother had not noticed because she did not use it. Brittany had picked up that landline on Christmas Day from her own cell phone after forwarding the line to herself. There were 3 voicemails on my phone from Christmas Day 2025. There was one on hers. It said, "Mom, it's me. Just wanted to hear your voice. I'll try again tomorrow." I tried again tomorrow, and the day after, and every other day until I stopped trying. Mother's Day, May 11th, 2025. I drove out to Myers Park unannounced. It was a warm Sunday. The dogwoods were out then too. I had a bouquet of pale pink peonies in the passenger seat, my mother's favorite, the kind she did not stock at her shop because she wanted them to be a special thing. Brittany opened the door wearing an apron over her cashmere sweater. She smiled. "Oh, Sam, you didn't text? Nathan and I are doing a small thing today. Closer family. Mom is just tired. I'm sure you understand." Closer family. I said nothing. I set the peonies on the porch by the door. I drove back to Charlotte. I called my mother that night. Voicemail. My mother never knew those peonies had been delivered. I would find out, 11 months later, that Brittany had thrown them in the green bin before sundown that day. Sandra Pell at the flower shop heard about it from a neighbor. The last voicemail my mother ever received from me before her stroke was on March 14th, 2026. It was her 67th birthday. I called the way I had always called. Once in the morning, once in the afternoon, once at night. The afternoon call went through. She picked up after 4 rings. "Sam?" she said. Her voice was small and uncertain. "I didn't know it was you. The number didn't come up." We talked for 4 minutes and 12 seconds. I have the call recording. I saved it that night without knowing why. "Honey, my phone has been so funny lately," she said. "Brittany says it's the new plan. Are you doing okay? I think about you, you know." "I'm okay, Mom. Can I come for lunch this weekend?" "Oh, yes. Yes. Saturday. Let me check with Brittany about the time." "I'll come early. Don't worry, I'll bring the bread." "I'd love that, sweetheart." There was a pause. I heard her breathing. Then she said, very softly, "I miss you." "I miss you too, Mom." 3 weeks later, she was in the ER. 3 weeks. Not a coincidence. I never had that lunch. If you have ever been told a family member did not want to talk to you anymore, and then later found out that they never got your messages, tell me in the comments. I want to know how many of us this has happened to. I have a feeling we are not as alone as they made us feel. The nurse's name tag said Hadley Brennan, RN, BSN, ED observation. She was younger than me. She had red hair in tight natural curls pulled back with a tortoiseshell clip. She did not whisper, and she did not look around to see who was watching. She simply guided me, the way nurses guide patients' family members all day, into the corridor through the double doors and let them close behind us. The hallway was the standard hospital hallway. Pale floor, scuffed where the wheels of beds had passed thousands of times. A fast stroke awareness poster on the wall, one corner peeling. Soft fluorescent lights, the smell of disinfectant under the smell of coffee. "Ms. Owen," she said, "I'm sorry to pull you out of there. Can I confirm something for the file?" "Yes." "Are you listed as healthcare power of attorney for your mother, Eleanor Owen?" "Yes." "Since March of 2023, the original document is on file with Halsey Bramwell, my father's estate attorney. There is also a copy with the Mecklenburg County records." She nodded once and made a small mark on her clipboard. Then she looked up. She had that face nurses get when they are about to say something they have been thinking about for an hour. "There are 2 documents in your mother's chart, Ms. Owen. One is the document you just described. The other is dated February 19th, 2026, and names someone else as her healthcare proxy." I did not say anything for a beat. The fluorescent light above us hummed. "Who is named on the new one?" I asked. She glanced at her clipboard. "I'm not at liberty to share specifics here. Our patient advocate will be the right person for that conversation. She's already on her way." "It's my brother, isn't it?" She did not nod. She did not shake her head. She said, "Ms. Owen, please don't sign anything anyone hands you in the next 24 hours. I just want to make sure we slow this down until we know which document is current." "Thank you." "Your mother is in ER 23. Are you ready to see her?" I thought I was. I was wrong. My mother looked smaller than she had 3 weeks before on the phone. She was lying slightly inclined in the bed, an IV in her left wrist, oxygen tubing taped under her nose. The right side of her face had a faint droop that was already beginning to lift. Her eyes were closed. There was a hospital blanket up to her ribs, the kind of cotton that has been washed 300 times. I sat in the chair by her right hand. I did not touch her yet. I just said, "Mom, I'm here. It's Sam." She did not open her eyes right away, but her left hand, the one with the IV, opened slowly. I gave her my hand. She closed her fingers around it. "Sa," she said. She was trying to say my name. She could not get the second syllable yet. "Sa, you came. I came. You came. You came." Her fingers tightened once, then twice, then once again. Her face was wet without her crying out loud. I bent close. I kept my voice the way you keep your voice for a person who has been carrying something heavy by themselves for a long time. "I'm not going anywhere, Mom. I promise." She squeezed my hand once. I would later learn that one squeeze meant yes. There was a quiet knock at the door. A woman in a gray blazer came in carrying a portfolio. Her badge said, "Rosalind Tate, Patient Advocacy Department, Atrium Health." "Ms. Owen," she said gently, "when you're ready, I'd like just 10 minutes with you in the small consult room across the hall. Take your time." I kissed my mother's forehead. I told her I would be back before she finished her water cup. I followed Rosalind across the corridor. The small consult room had 2 chairs and a Kleenex box. Rosalind sat down. She did not open her portfolio. "Ms. Owen, I want to be direct with you. We have a documentation issue in your mother's chart that the legal team is reviewing. I do not want you to take any action, sign anything, agree to any decision, until I show you what I found. I'm scheduling a documentation review for Sunday morning, 6 days from now. Room 2C, 10 a.m. The clinical team will be there. The hospital social worker will be there. I would like you to bring counsel if you have any. 6 days. 6 days. In the meantime, I am asking my charge nurse to flag the chart so that no one besides medical personnel and you have decision authority over your mother until we sort this out. What about my brother?" Rosalind did not blink. "I am asking that he not be permitted to sign on her behalf until Sunday." "Thank you." I walked back to ER 23. My mother was asleep. The monitor was beeping a steady 60 beats per minute. I sat down beside her and did not move for the next 2 hours. I drove home to Southend at midnight. The condo was dark. I took my keys, walked to the second bedroom I had been using as an office, and opened the small fire safe in the closet. Inside the safe was the craft envelope my father had given me 4 years before. The blue painter's tape was still on it. The adhesive yellowed at the edges. I had moved this envelope twice, once when I downsized after my divorce, once when I rebuilt the closet, and I had never opened it. I opened it that night. There were 3 things inside: a handwritten letter on yellow legal paper, folded into thirds, a photocopy of my mother's signed healthcare power of attorney dated March 11, 2023, naming me as her healthcare agent, and a photocopy of the First Care Trust statement from Q3 of 2022, with my mother's initial signature beside the funding entry. The letter began, "Sammy, if you are reading this, it means something happened with the trust or with your mother. I do not know what or when. I just know your brother. He is smart with money in the way that smart people are dangerous. He believes rules are for other people. Watch him, not his eyes, his books. Pull every statement, match every signature. Trust the paper, not the family. I love you. I love your mother more than I ever told either of you. Don't let him hurt her. Dad." February 24, 2022. He had written it 12 days before he died. I sat on the floor with my back against the closet door and held the letter in both hands and breathed for a long time. Then I got up. I made coffee. I put the letter on the table next to my laptop. I opened a new spreadsheet and named it evidence-owen-2026.xlsx. I began. The first thing I did, at 6:30 the next morning, was call the North Carolina Secretary of State's Notary Public section. I asked them to verify a commission number. I read it slowly. 7022851. Notary listed as Bernadette Holloway. The clerk on the other end paused. I heard a keyboard. "Ma'am, that commission number falls within a range our office retired in 2019. There is no active notary by the name Bernadette Holloway with that number. There is no active notary by that name at all in our database. Could it be expired but legitimate from before 2019? No, ma'am. That range was retired because of duplicate issuance errors. None of those numbers were ever issued. I asked her to email me a confirmation in writing. She said she could have it to me by end of business that same day. I gave her my address. The second thing I did by 8:45 a.m. was drive to Myers Park. I have had a key to my mother's house since 2020. I let myself in. I did not search anything. I went directly to the kitchen island. My mother is a woman of pattern. She drinks coffee at the island. She reads her mail at the island. She has done it that way since I was a child. On the island, exactly where I expected, was the stack of mail and statements she had been reading. On top, the Q1 2026 trust account statement, postmarked late March, mailed by the corporate trustee bank to the Myers Park address. She had opened it. She had read it. Her reading glasses were folded on top of it, and on the second page, with a faint pencil line, she had drawn a small circle around one entry. Wire out, February 26, 2026, $250,000. Ref. Memory Care Placement Deposit. Recipient TBD. Destination N. Owen Settlement Holding LLC. Beside the circle, in her handwriting, my mother had drawn a single tilted question mark. She had seen it. She had been about to ask Nathan about it. She had not gotten the chance. I took photographs of the statement on the island in its original position. Then I photographed every page. Then I gathered the previous 12 months of statements from the small file box my mother kept in the dining room. I called the bank's trustee desk from my mother's kitchen and identified myself as contingent beneficiary, requested a full accounting under North Carolina General Statute 36C, Section 8, Sub 813. They began the process. I left a contact number. By the time I was back at South End at noon, I had the math. From February of 2025 through March of 2026, exactly 14 months, there had been monthly distributions of $4,800 labeled Caregiver Stipend, Brittany Owen. 14 times, 4,800 is 67,200. Add the $250,000 wire from late February. $317,200 in unauthorized distributions, none of them carrying my mother's countersignature, none of them with documentation for the services rendered, and one of them addressed to an LLC under my brother's sole control, with a reference line for a memory care placement that had never been arranged. By 2 o'clock that afternoon, I had a working theory. By 3 o'clock, I had 3 documents that did not match her real signature. The forged POA dated February 19th, a separate forged trust amendment dated February 22nd, broadening Nathan's discretion as trustee, and the emergency contact form scanned into the hospital system at 2:14 a.m. on April 6th, with my name physically crossed out in blue ink and Brittany's written in beside it. 3 forgeries, 1 brother, 1 sister-in-law, and 1 mother who had been quietly trying to investigate it herself. On Wednesday, April 8th, I sat with my mother for 6 hours. The speech therapist came in once. The neuro resident came in twice. The lunch tray came and went. I read the voicemails I had saved on my phone, the ones she had never been allowed to hear, out loud to her, one by one. "This one is from Christmas last year," I said. "I just wanted to hear your voice." She closed her eyes. "This one is from the day I got promoted at Carolina First. I told you because I wanted you to know first." Her hand on the blanket twitched. "This one is from your birthday 3 weeks ago. I called you 3 times." A tear moved sideways from the corner of her eye down toward the pillow. "And this last one is from a Tuesday in November. I couldn't sleep. I just wanted to hear you tell me to go to bed." She squeezed my hand. "Once. We had been working on a system. The speech-language pathologist had suggested it. 1 squeeze meant yes. 2 squeezes meant no. We had practiced with simple things first. 'Mom, is your name Eleanor?' 1 squeeze. 'Is my brother's name Patrick?' 2 squeezes. 'Is my brother's name Nathan?' 1 squeeze. Good, we have the system." I waited a long time before I asked her the questions I needed to ask. I did not want her to think I had come for information. I had come because she was my mother. I told her so, 3 different ways, before I asked anything else. Then slowly, I asked her, "Mom, did you sign a new healthcare power of attorney in February?" 2 squeezes. "No. Did anyone read you a document that said Nathan would be in charge of your medical decisions?" 2 squeezes. "No. Did Brittany take you somewhere on February 19th? 1 squeeze. And then she turned her head and a tear fell into the pillow, and she squeezed twice, slowly, as if trying to correct it. She did not know what she had signed. She had been somewhere. She had not understood it as the signing of anything. I kissed her forehead. I told her she had nothing to be sorry for. I told her I was going to fix it. I asked her if she wanted me to read her 1 more voicemail. She squeezed once. I read her my voicemail from her 67th birthday, the one she had been allowed to hear, the only one of mine to reach her in 11 months. And her face changed the way faces change when a person remembers they are loved. She slept after that. I left her at 4 o'clock and drove to Myers Park. I had told the nursing staff to call me if anything changed. I went into her bedroom. The drawer of her nightstand had a small lock that did not work, and had not worked since 1998. I opened it. Inside, in a neat stack, were 12 birthday cards, each one in its envelope. Each envelope still bearing the postmark of the year I had sent it. The one on top was from March of 2025, last year, with a small sticky note on the front in her handwriting that read, simply, Sammy. I sat down on the edge of her bed and read every card. I had not remembered some of what I had written. I had written things like, 65 looks good on you, and I'm so proud to be your daughter. And once, much earlier, Mom, thank you for the lemons. They were the best part of the cake. Every card had a fingerprint in the bottom right corner where she had read it more than once. I called Adrienne Lockhart from my mother's driveway. The sun was setting on the dogwoods. She already started investigating, I said. I just have to finish it. There was a beat on the other end. Adrienne does not waste sounds. How much? 317,200. There are 3 forgeries. There is a notary who does not exist. I have the real POA. I have the trust statements. I have the wire. I have a recording of her birthday call. I have a voice memo from when I drove to the hospital. Send me everything tonight. I will, Sam. This is not a contested POA. This is a criminal case. We file Friday morning. I'll draft an emergency petition tonight and tomorrow. I'll have a courier ready for the courthouse at 9 on Friday. Hearing? Earliest available emergency slot is Thursday the 16th. I'll request the courthouse on 4th Street. 8:30 filing on Friday. Service Monday morning, hearing Thursday. He doesn't know yet. He doesn't know yet. He won't until Monday morning when the sheriff knocks on his door. By then we already have your mother's hospital flagged. By then we have APS in the loop. By then the entire system has been told there is a forgery. I exhaled for the first time in 2 days. Adrienne. Yes. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Sunday's family meeting at the hospital. That's the room we tell the truth in. Until Sunday, you don't tip your hand. Not to Nathan. Not to Brittany. Not to a single one of those 9. You go to the hospital. You sit with your mother. You let them think they're winning. Understood. I drove back to Atrium with the dogwoods white in my headlights and the radio off. Thursday morning, April 9th, I made the call I had been preparing. The fake notary on the forged POA was Bernadette Holloway, commission number 7022851. The Secretary of State had already confirmed the commission did not exist, but I needed to know whose stamp impression had been used. Notary stamps in North Carolina leave a recognizable impression. The forger had needed a template. So I had pulled every active and recently expired notary in Mecklenburg and Union counties, whose stamp design matched the impression on the forged POA. 3 came close. 1 matched. Her name was Glenda Marsh. She was a retired church secretary in Matthews, North Carolina. Her notary commission had expired in November 2025, 5 months before the date on the forged POA. She had not, the state's records showed, renewed. I called her. She answered after 4 rings, in the voice of a woman who was doing the dishes. Mrs. Marsh, my name is Samantha Owen. I'm a forensic accountant and I'm investigating a possible document fraud involving your name. Do you have a few minutes? There was a long pause. Then she said in a small voice, "Oh, honey." Mrs. Marsh, can I record this call? North Carolina is a one-party consent state, but I'd rather you say yes. 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 Record it. Hold on, let me sit down. She told me, calmly, that she had not notarized a document in 5 months. Her commission had expired November 12th. She had given up the work because her husband had been ill. She had not used her stamp since then. She kept it in a desk drawer in her home office. She did not know who could have accessed it. She had her grandchildren over sometimes. She had a cleaning service. What does the document look like, honey? It is a healthcare power of attorney dated February 19th, 2026. Your stamp impression is on it, but the notary signature beside it says, Bernadette Holloway. That is not my name. I know. She was quiet for a moment, then she said something that made me sit down even though I was already sitting. Honey, are you safe? Yes. Is your mother safe? She is now. You make sure she stays that way. The call lasted 19 minutes. She agreed to provide a sworn affidavit. She offered to mail her stamp to me as evidence. I told her to keep it sealed in a Ziploc bag and to wait for the sheriff who would come to collect it. That same afternoon, I went back to my mother's house. I had photographed everything on the kitchen island, but I had not opened the small wire mail basket that she kept by the front door. She always tossed envelopes and shipping labels there before deciding which to recycle. I went through it. Halfway down, I found a gray envelope label. Mobile Notary Carolina LLC, 2114 Park Road, Suite B, Charlotte, NC, addressed to Nathan Owen. Reference line, document execution scheduled February 19th, 2026. Owen, E. The envelope had been delivered to my mother's house, to Nathan, in my mother's name, on February 17th. 2 days before the so-called notarization, whoever ran Mobile Notary Carolina LLC had coordinated directly with Nathan, not with my mother. The reference was for a single execution date. I would later learn that the LLC dissolved on March 28th, less than 6 weeks later, before my mother's stroke. By Friday morning, April 10th, the folder was complete. Adrienne and I sat at her conference table in her office on Tryon Street, and we laid out the receipts in order. The North Carolina Secretary of State letter confirming Bernadette Holloway never existed. Glenda Marsh's recorded statement. The Mobile Notary Carolina envelope label. The Q1 2026 trust statement with my mother's pencil mark on the $250,000 wire. 12 months of monthly statements showing the $4,800 siphons totaling $67,200. The Verizon dashboard screenshot showing the call forwarding rule. The birthday call recording from March 14th. The drawer of 12 birthday cards, photographed. The voice memo from my drive to the hospital. My father's letter, in its craft envelope, still sealed in a clear evidence sleeve. Key, 10 receipts. Adrienne filed the petition at 9:02 a.m. Friday morning. Service to Nathan would be Monday at his office at South Park. Sunday's meeting, she said. He walks in believing he is still the trustee. He walks out understanding that he is not. Conference Room 2C at Atrium Health is on the 3rd floor of the tower wing. It has a long table of veneer wood, 12 chairs upholstered in dark blue, a flat screen on the wall for video calls, and a window that faces a parking deck across the courtyard. There is no clock. The only clock is the one each person carries in their head. The meeting was scheduled for 10 a.m. Sunday, April 12th. By 9:57, the room was full. Rosalind Tate sat at the head of the table with her portfolio. Dr. Caleb Whitman, the attending neurologist, sat to her right with his iPad. Vanessa McCready, the hospital social worker, sat beside him with a paper notepad. Nathan and Brittany sat across the table from me. Aunt Vivian and Aunt Patricia had been invited to attend as the 3 family representatives Nathan had named to the hospital. Aunt Lorraine had stayed at her own home with the 3rd of my mother's sisters, who had flown in from Asheville. Uncle Howard had asked to attend at the last moment. Rosalind permitted it. I sat at the end of the table farthest from the door. Adrienne was on the speaker, her phone propped in a stand in front of me. She had said one word before the meeting started. Note. Rosalind opened. Thank you all for being here. We are here to align on Mrs. Owen's discharge plan and to address some documentation issues that have come to our attention. I will ask each of you to speak in turn. Mr. Owen, you have asked to address the room first. Nathan stood. He did not have to stand. He stood anyway. Thank you, Rosalind. Look, this is hard. Mom is recovering, which is what matters. Sam and I have had our differences, but I want to keep this constructive. In February, Mom and I sat down. She wanted clarity. She updated her healthcare proxy to me. I have that document and a copy of it has been provided to the hospital. Sam, I told everyone in that waiting room what I'm going to repeat now. You are not the daughter Mom asks for. This is not personal. It is logistical. Brittany did not look up from her hands. Vanessa wrote something on her notepad. Adrienne, through the speaker, said nothing. I said one thing. Who notarized it, Nathan? He blinked. A mobile notary. Brittany scheduled it. What was her name? Brittany answered, the way she always answered for him. Bernadette Holloway, I think. I don't memorize notaries. What was her commission number? I don't remember. They sign their own paperwork. I slid one sheet of paper across the table. It was the letter from the North Carolina Secretary of State on official letterhead, embossed with the state seal. Brittany, could you read this aloud, please? 3 sentences. She looked at Nathan. He looked at the paper. She looked at the paper. She picked it up and read. This office has reviewed the commission number provided, 7022851, and confirms no notary by the name Bernadette Holloway has ever been commissioned under that number. The commission range in question was retired in 2019 due to issuance errors. No commission within this range was ever issued. She stopped reading. She did not lower the paper. Her breath stopped coming through her nose. It started coming through her mouth. I opened the folder. I placed each document down with no commentary. I had practiced this in my apartment Saturday night with a kitchen timer, so that I knew exactly how long it took to slide a single page across a table. Just slow enough to be heard. Just fast enough not to be theatrical. This is one, I said. The real 2023 Healthcare POA with my name and the original Mecklenburg County notarization stamp. Filed at the courthouse March 11th, 2023. I placed it. This is 2. The forged February 19th POA with the bogus Bernadette Holloway notarization. Filed nowhere. Stamp belongs to a retired notary in Matthews, North Carolina, whose commission expired November 12, 2025. I placed it next to the first. This is 3. Glenda Marsh's recorded sworn statement transcribed. She did not notarize this document. She has provided a sworn affidavit to that effect. I placed it. This is 4. The Mobile Notary Carolina LLC envelope label, addressed to Nathan, dated February 17, 2026. 2 days before the alleged notarization, the LLC dissolved on March 28th. I placed it. This is 5. The Q1 2026 trust statement, with my mother's pencil mark and question mark. She circled the $250,000 wire 10 days before her stroke. She was going to ask you about it, Nathan. He looked at the page. He did not pick it up. This is 6. The 14 months of monthly siphons summarized. $67,200 labeled caregiver stipend paid to your wife, with no documented services rendered, no countersignature from the principal. This is 7. The Verizon dashboard screenshot. 11 months of call forwarding from my number to a voicemail box that was never provisioned. Implemented May 2025. Authorized from your account. I placed each one. I did not raise my voice. Shh, this is 8. Recording of my mother's March 14th birthday call. 4 minutes and 12 seconds. The only call I made to her in 11 months that reached her phone. This is 9. A photograph of 12 birthday cards in the nightstand drawer in Myers Park. She kept every one I ever sent. They had told her I had stopped sending them. I paused on 9. I did not place 10 yet. I looked at Nathan. I asked in my smallest voice, "Why $250,000, Nathan? What was the bill?" He did not answer. The room was silent for a full 18 seconds. Aunt Vivian turned slowly to face her nephew. "Nathan," she said, "answer her." Nathan opened his mouth and closed it. Aunt Patricia stood up and walked to the window. She stayed there. Rosalind looked at the door. She nodded once. The door opened. A woman in a black blazer with a Mecklenburg County DSS badge clipped to her belt walked in. She introduced herself. "My name is Naomi Garrett. I am an Adult Protective Services investigator with the county. Mr. Owen, Mrs. Owen, Brittany Owen. I would appreciate it if both of you would remain seated. I have some questions about the missing hour between when Mrs. Owen was found and when 911 was called on Sunday night the 5th. Naomi did not sit at the table. She remained standing. She set down a single page beside the other 9. "Mr. Owen, Mrs. Owen, this is a copy of the emergency contact form for your mother from the night of her admission. Note that there are 2 versions. The first, scanned at 9:52 p.m. on April 5th, lists Samantha Owen as primary emergency contact with the phone number Samantha provided to me yesterday. The same number that has been on file with the hospital since 2018. The second, scanned at 2:14 a.m. on April 6th, has Samantha's name crossed out in blue ink and replaced with Brittany Owen's name in different handwriting." She paused. "Mr. Owen, Mrs. Owen, can either of you tell me who altered this form between admission and the rescan?" Brittany did not answer. She stood up so quickly her chair scraped the carpet. "I need air," she said. She walked to the door. Nathan said her name. She did not turn around. The door clicked closed behind her. I did not turn my head to watch her go. Aunt Vivian made a small sound and put her hand over her mouth. Then she lowered her hand and turned to me. "Sammy," she said. Her voice was the voice of a woman who had not slept. "He said in that waiting room yesterday that you were not the daughter your mother asks for." I nodded. I am 64 years old. I nodded at a lie about my own niece. They showed me texts that didn't exist. They told me you had refused to come at Christmas. They told me you said you wanted distance. I should have called you myself. I should have called your mother on a number I dialed, not a number Brittany gave me. I am so sorry. She put her hand on my arm. She did not grip it. She just laid her hand there, like a person setting down something fragile. Aunt Patricia was crying at the window. Uncle Howard had his head in his hands. Aunt Lorraine, who was not in the room, would call me later that night to tell me she had thrown up after Vivian phoned her at 12:30 p.m. I opened the folder and took out the last item. It was my father's craft envelope. The blue painter's tape still attached, still yellowed. I did not open the envelope. I did not read the whole letter. I removed it just enough to read a single sentence aloud. "Sammy, watch your brother. Not his eyes. His books. Dad. February 24th, 2022. I placed the envelope on top of the folder. "He wrote this 12 days before he died," I said. He did not know exactly what would happen. He just knew. Nathan put his face in his hands. "I was trying to keep things together," he said. His voice was small. "The condo in Asheville, the flip, the margin call last fall. I was going to put it back. I just needed the time." Adrian's voice came through the speaker. Calm, brisk. "Stop talking, Mr. Owen. Anything you say now is being entered into the record, including the medical record of this meeting, and including statements that may be made part of criminal proceedings. As your sister's counsel, I am not advising you. As an officer of the court, I am telling you to stop talking until your attorney is present." Nathan stopped. Rosalind looked at Naomi. Naomi looked at Nathan. "Mr. Owen," Naomi said, "I am opening an Adult Protective Services investigation as of right now. The substantiation will move forward through my office. The criminal referral will move forward through the Mecklenburg County District Attorney's Office. Until further notice, you are not to make any decisions regarding your mother's medical or financial care. The hospital legal team has been informed. Adrian spoke again. I filed an emergency petition with the Mecklenburg County Clerk of Superior Court at 9:02 a.m. Friday. The sheriff will serve you at South Park tomorrow morning, Mr. Owen. The emergency hearing is set for Thursday, April 16th at the Mecklenburg County Courthouse, 832 East 4th Street, at 9 a.m. The forged February 19th POA is suspended pending hearing. As of right now, the operative healthcare proxy for Mrs. Eleanor Owen is the 2023 document naming her daughter Samantha. Samantha is her decision-maker, effective immediately. Rosalind closed her portfolio. She turned to me. Ms. Owen, the hospital will be working with you on Mrs. Owen's discharge plan. We will begin tomorrow. I nodded. I did not stand up yet. I did not want my mother to see anyone leaving the room as if anything had been won. I did not feel like anything had been won. I felt like I had picked up a heavy thing and was still holding it. Aunt Vivian did not let go of my arm. Nathan stayed at the table. His coffee cup, the same pale yellow paper kind he had held in the waiting room, sat untouched in front of him. It had been there since 9:57 that morning. It was empty. I walked out of the room. I walked down the corridor toward ER 23. My mother was sitting up in bed. The morning's PT had gone well. The droop on her face was almost gone. She looked at me. She looked at me clearly. Sam, she said. Did you bring my phone? If this story made you think about a boundary you have been afraid to draw with your own family, take a breath right now. You do not have to draw it today. You just have to stop apologizing for considering it. My mother was discharged on Wednesday, April 22nd. The neurology team had her at about 90% of her speech back, 95% of her motor function. She would need physical therapy 3 times a week through the summer. She would walk with a single-point cane for a while. She would not, as it turned out, be moving back to Myers Park. The condo across the hall from mine in South End had become available the second week of April. I signed the lease the day after the family meeting. It is a 1-bedroom with a small kitchen and a window that faces east, which means she gets the morning light she has always liked. I moved in her own bed from Myers Park, her own armchair, her father's old bookcase, and the small antique tea set that had been my grandmother's. I had Sandra Pell from the flower shop set fresh peonies on the kitchen counter the day she came home. The drawer of birthday cards came with her. I added a new one to the top. I framed my father's letter and hung it on the wall above the table where my mother eats her breakfast. The craft envelope is folded inside the frame. The yellow paper of the letter shows through the glass. The blue tape, still attached, is visible at the edge. On the second evening, she sat at the kitchen table and poured herself a cup of tea from her grandmother's pot. Her hand was still a little uncertain. The cup is white porcelain with a chipped lip from the year 1988, when my father knocked it off the counter, making toast, and almost cried, apologizing. She lifted it slowly. She set it down without spilling. Sam, she said. I should have called you that night. I tried. I think I tried. I know, Mom. I told them I wanted you. I think I told them. The words, I know, Mom. The nurse heard you. She wrote it down. Hadley. She wrote it down. My mother looked at me. There were tears in the corners of her eyes that did not fall. I am so sorry, Sammy. You did not do this, Mom. You are the one they did this to. She nodded. She drank her tea. Outside, the late April sun was on Tryon Street. There was a wind moving through the dogwoods. My phone was on the table. There were no missed calls. There would not be any from Nathan or Brittany. There was a restraining order in place. There were criminal charges pending. Brittany had retained counsel. Nathan had not yet. Aunt Vivian called me on Sundays. Aunt Lorraine had begun therapy. Aunt Patricia had written my mother a letter that I read aloud to her on a Tuesday, and that my mother accepted with a small, careful nod. The trust had been frozen and was being reconstructed under court supervision. The $250,000 had been recovered, almost in full. The condo in Asheville had been sold.